Hello everyone, welcome to Pick That One Out, a weekly podcast trying to pick out the fun left in football. Episode 8 follows another week chock full of football. Who better to review it all with than my good friend Will Varney. Will, how you doing, mate?
I'm very well, Jack. Thank you very much. Thank you to everyone who's been listening to the podcast so far. Episode 8. Wow, they're sort of flying by, aren't they, Jack?
It's a long one.
It is, yeah, wow. And we had some... Would we say thrilling football this weekend? I'm not so sure. But we'll try and make it as amusing as possible and try and find some fun in a slightly dull weekend of fixtures.
Yeah, we've got to pull our sleeves up here. This is
it's a tough one.
This is the work. This is our work. Breakfast Club, Will.
Yeah.
Decent one last week with the old bacon sarnie. I've heard you've had some issues this morning though. Is that, I mean, let the viewers know what's been going on.
Yeah, technical issues with episode 8 Breakfast Club. So today, look, I've got work coming up in a bit. I wanted to have something that I was going to enjoy. So we've stepped away once again from the status quo, away from what we know, but we're back with something I like. So I feel like we could be high up in the rankings today with this one, Jack. And I did mention, some technical issues in the bake-off tent, and it was to do with the toaster. The toaster, for some reason, didn't want to work, which is a real concern because I do love toast. But today it's not toast.
Switched on at the mains?
It was switched on at the mains, plug in, switch on. Just wasn't having any of it, which is a real problem now, and one that I'm going to have to discuss with the house, whether it's going to be a new toaster for my upcoming birthday.
Oh, nice.
But today we haven't gone with toast in the toaster. I was actually trying to toast some crumpets. Yes. Yes. Yeah. And I have to say, I absolutely love a crumpet. And I don't know anyone who doesn't. And I would be shocked if I met somebody who did. This is the controversial part, Jack. It's love it or hate it.
Yeah.
On a crumpet, it's Marmite. It's Marmite crumpets, Jack. And this is the key for me here. I'm just going to show you. Now,
be careful with them. Yeah, okay.
Here we go. Yeah. Now, the thing is, I'm not a big butter man.
Okay.
I'm not. So I always like a thin spread of margarine, just a thin spread, and I will only ever have it with Marmite, nothing else. It's a no for butter from me. But the key part is the Marmite, and as long as it's a nice hot crumpet. So, in the end, I did have to take the risk of grilling in the oven.
I was wondering how you were going to get around this.
It was a gamble. And do you know what? I was pleasantly surprised. I ended up having a thorough chat with my housemate at the time as they were attempting to cook along, talking about sort of the big stuff going on tonight. Yeah. No, it's not Chelsea Everton. It was Harry and Meghan's interview. But this is the key part. It did provide a very nice distraction as I looked in the oven once again. They were nicely toasted. So no, I'm looking forward to tucking into these, I have to say.
Yeah, I'm fine with Marmite. I'll have Marmite from time to time on the toast. I've never had Marmite on a crumpet though, which is interesting.
Well, look,
I'll wait for the review. Wait for the review at the end of the show, as will everyone else, and we'll see.
I'll tell you what.
If that's on future agenda.
When you get into the editing, Jack, of this episode, treat yourself. Try it out. See what you think.
I don't think I have any crumpets or Marmite in the house.
Oh dear.
Not worth the trek.
That could be trouble.
Review it in a future episode. My review to your review.
Jack joins the Breakfast Club. That could be an interesting episode. Wow.
That's huge. Don't
blow my mind. It's too early in the episode for this.
That's too far. That's like a sort of, I don't know, 10th, 15th, 100th episode special. Who knows? Speaking of special, Prem Roundup.
Yes.
Especially in terms of rarity of some upsets that came our way, starting with the Manc Derby, Manchester City 0, Manchester United 2. The Pick That One Out curse strikes yet again. Yet last week we were talking about how United aren't really playing in the top 6 games, settling for the draws. They go all-out attack for the first minute, grab a penalty, played one of the best performances I've seen from United this season, I would say, from front to back at the Etihad yesterday. 3 wins at the Etihad now in a row for Ole. Does he have Pep's number?
It's an interesting one, isn't it? I mean, look, that curse struck again. I was there last week going, Man City each week, they're just, palming teams off. Who is going to end this 21 win streak? And, of course, it had to happen in the Manchester Derby of all games. And, look, I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't say that Ollie's got Pep's number. I mean, look, a worst possible start. What is it, second minute in? And Gabriel Jesus, what's he doing? Why on earth are you trying to tackle in your own box? You're a striker. You shouldn't even be there. Just don't even take the chance. And I mean, this is the thing. Once you make a mistake like that, Bruno, the stat pad, is going to put the pen away, and then it's game on. But I mean, you have to say, as impressive, Man City didn't look like they sort of lacked opportunities. I know they had that one with Sterling towards the end of the game where, I mean, he should have finished it. But already by that point, 2 goals down. Luke Shaw's bagged one, and then something crazy's going on at the Etihad. But I mean, look, I have to say, this has been the case all season, hasn't it? You keep you write off Manchester United, then they come back, and I mean, this is the thing. They had 3 goalless draws on the bounce, and then all of a sudden they're picking up a result against Man City at the Etihad. And I suppose what you have to look at is is that because it's a derby game and so much rests on it, and gearing yourself up for that. It's a strange one, isn't it? But I think in terms of Manchester City, I think I would say that we both agree that they are the sort of champions-elect, wouldn't you say? I mean, I think Pep has always said, since this run was continuing, there's a point where they're going to sort of peter off. It's going to falter, peter off, the run will end. But it's all about what happens at the end of the season. I still think they're way too strong for the rest of the league. But no, in terms of Manchester United, once again, it does make it interesting, isn't it? People are saying, challenging City for the title. Well, I don't think they are, but you see some people saying, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is the wrong man for the job. It's hard, isn't it, to say that right now, because with this Manchester United team, are they as strong as Man City? Do they deserve to be title winners? No, but I still think at the same time, with the squad that they've had, there were a lot of concerns over, say, Edinson Cavani when he was brought in. Is he really a leading frontman? I think there's still ways that they can strengthen, but I don't think you can really argue at the moment that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer maybe does deserve some praise, as hard as that's to say personally.
Well, that is quite interesting, because I was thinking about United since Ole took over, and they've not necessarily completely underperformed in the league. They're getting Europe. They got third place last season. They look in a strong position to fight for at least their third or second again this season. The performances are fine. I think Ole deserves praise for that. He definitely doesn't deserve the sack. I don't think at all.
No.
The issue is I don't really see much progress from season to season, and that's one of how long term this could be. The case will have to come whether a big shot of confidence and morale will come into this team, or a massive signing. I think one of them has to happen for
I think
them
it's
to
got to
shoot
be
up.
a big signing. I think it's got to be a big signing, Jack, because I mean, if you look at it, they sold Lukaku and didn't replace him really. They brought in Edinson Cavani, who, and like I said, people weren't expecting him to really be the leading man. He was going to be. People thought he might be a panic buy. He would just be coming off the bench. They didn't replace Lukaku. We've seen that Martial at times this season. He's come in for a lot of criticism. Doesn't look interested. Is he really a front man for United? You've had Mason, you've had the likes of Mason Greenwood, Rashford. Are they leading strikers? I think it's the striker position which is going to be key for them in the summer. And I think once they fill that role, you've got Bruno Fernandes, and he's come in and he's almost been their ever reliant player in the side who's been performing for them. There's been questions over when he's doing it against the top 6, but still week after week, people are saying, he's going to be their go-to man. I think they need a striker in the summer, and I think then next season they lack the squad depth, for me personally, of Man City. That's why I don't think they're in that same bracket at the minute. Even though they beat them, they don't have that depth of squad where you can go, wow, yeah, he can just easily slot in for him. When you're saying, not to be harsh, but when you're going, Dan James, filling in, is he really, he's not Bernardo Silva coming off the bench, is he? So I think that's going to be the key one in the summer. And then I think next season we'll really see if Ole's up to it.
Yeah, you mentioned Martial there. Very frustrating season for him this year. Cavani's pretty much taken his place for a lot of it. Fitness woes for him meant he came in yesterday, and I think he had a fantastic game, to be honest. I think Gary Neville gave him man of the match. I think him, Dean Henderson in goal, I think deserves a shout. He had a good game himself, and he has had a good run of games since coming into the first team.
What do you think happens with that, Jack, out of interest, with Dean Henderson? We obviously know, David De Gea's been out because he's had a child. It's one of those where he stepped in, a couple of clean sheets as well. And how long do United, do you think, leave it before they, bring Henderson in as their starting number one over De Gea?
Well, this is the decision now for Ole. I feel like if De Gea comes back and immediately regains his place and Henderson's canned right back to the bench, I think it could be curtains for him at United. And I think multiple teams could be in for him in the summer.
Because I was surprised when he signed a new deal. I signed a deal in the summer. I thought after Chef he would be gone, really.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the same. I thought Chef should have tried everything to go again. I'm sure they did, to be honest. I'm sure they did do that. But United vouch for him. They clearly see him as the future number one. But I think Ole has to make that decision soon. Don't think David De Gea is the same man he once was. And I think if you're going to invest into that future, you've got to show confidence in him, and he's reaping rewards in that first team already. Like I say, he's had a great run of
It's not like he's performing, is he? It's not like he's not performing. So
yeah. Also, and you mentioned Luke Shaw there in a slightly off kilter way after his goal. He was another one that had a fantastic game. Is this a hot take that he is potentially in line for my team this season?
I don't think I wouldn't say that's very far off at all. I mean, you're looking at left backs performing this season. I can't
think of consistency. There isn't. Too
I think
many
especially in the last month he's been.
Yeah.
I think especially in the last month it's sort of gathered attention of how well he's been performing. It's painful for me because, I'm Ben Chilwell all the way. I'm a Ben EC man, but now there's talk of will Chilwell even go to the Euros? If he's sort of in and out of the side, and Luke Shaw with his consistency, you have to say he's going to probably be on the plane unless he picks up an injury somehow. But no, I think that's I wouldn't say that's far off at all. In terms of left backs and around the league, you're struggling to say any sort of performance without doing.
When you think about in the summer as well, coming into the transfer window, they signed Alex Telles. Everyone thinking that's a straight up replacement. Telles is going to get the first team nod. Barely had a sniff because of how good Shaw's been when the pressure's been put to him. And fair play to him. He's had a career. It's kind of been ruined with injuries. Every time he gets a good run of form, he does get a big injury that sets him back.
Well, when he was at Southampton, he was so highly sort of touted, and that was when it became the choice of. I remember it was between sort of Chelsea and United, sort of going for him at that time. He goes to United, and everyone was so sort of eager with anticipation to see him, be sort of the new starting left back for United. And yeah, you're right, it's sort of stuttered, and I think maybe that Alex Telles signing. I know he stuttered under Mourinho as well, and there was a whole fallout. Was he going to leave? But bringing Alex Telles in, I feel it's almost been sort of that kick up the backside he needed. Alex Telles is no sort of bit part player. He wasn't going to be there for squad depth. I think you're right. He was there to be the number one. And Luke Shaw said, "Nah, my spot, mate. Jog on." And fair play to him. He's performed really well. And again, picking up a goal yesterday is one of the unlikeliest scorers on the pitch, I'd have to say.
So Manchester had their fair share of the headlines yesterday, but we're back to Anfield. Last week I was tentative in giving Liverpool praise because I said they've beat Sheffield United 2-0, but we've seen where they've been in the last few weeks. I'm going to hold off on claiming they're back. Finally, we had the foresight to do that, as it's another horror week for Jurgen Klopp. Back-to-back 1-0 home losses yet again, this time to Chelsea midweek and Fulham on Sunday. Klopp rotated yesterday. It shows that Champions League's now predominantly on his mind. But 12 league games into 2021, Liverpool have won 3 of them. It's crisis talk right now. It has to be.
It has. It has to be. But that the home form is the most shocking part of it, Jack. That long run they went on unbeaten at Anfield, and all of a sudden you're looking at the losses that they've had, like Burnley, Brighton. You're then looking at we beat them. We completely outclassed them on Thursday, I thought.
I agree.
It was a really poor Liverpool performance. We dominated them and looked strong at the back against that front three. And then, Fulham go there yesterday, and a lot of pressure was on Liverpool, but also Fulham knew they had to go there and try and get a result with everything that had happened around the results this weekend. And again, Liverpool just looked... I mean, the goal as well, Jack. What's Mo Salah doing?
Don't know, man.
Like, why on earth? And I remember just seeing it at the time thinking, just get it clear. Takes that touch, all of a sudden dispossessed, goal. And then from that point on, Liverpool, they huffed and they puffed, but there was no sort of end product. And I mean, that must be so frustrating now for Liverpool fans, because previously it was all about the defence. How that defence looked, and that is not a championship retaining defence. I completely agree. But at the same time now, you saw it on Thursday, Mo Salah substituted, who's arguably been their most dangerous player this season, and they're bringing him off after 60 minutes when they need a goal versus us. I found that bizarre. And I know that, Jurgen Klopp was saying there's nothing behind it, it's just rotation. Well, why would you not keep your best players on the pitch, who are the ones who can actually make a difference? I find it bizarre. And I mean, yesterday, again, that's the worrying thing. He, brings Mane off the bench, but still, it's just starting. There's not that threat there. That front three, which everybody sort of was so worried about last season, was so dangerous. It doesn't look like they've still got that cutting edge, all three of them together, working together. And you're 100% right. It is worrying for Jurgen Klopp right now. Really worrying, because this title defence is just going from bad to even worse. And I mean, yeah, but all praise to Scott Parker and Fulham. What a result.
Yeah, I mean, so many, me included, saw the first game of the season, Arsenal-Fulham, 3-0 Arsenal. I thought, Fulham, may as well write them off now. You may as well put them down now.
I said exactly the same.
Etch them back into the Championship now. For them, it's not a case of... I'm not going to sit here and claim that they were unlucky at the start and they're getting results now. This team has shown real growth throughout the season. Scott Parker's done a great job at transitioning ideas and styles of play to get stuff that's currently working. They're on a decent stretch of form. They're playing well. They're not leaky at the back. I think Joachim Andersen, who they brought in at centre-back, has done a fantastic job recently. Would not be surprised if he gets a big move either this summer or next if they hold on to him. Tosin Adarabioyo had a shaky start, but he's been really good recently. Areola in goal's been really good. They're getting a great run of form and consistency, and you can see the team starting to gel. The problem with Fulham last time when they were in the Premier League, there's too many moving parts, all these new players, and they kept coming in and out, and it just wasn't working. Now it looks like it kind of is. And I think there's a good chance they stay up now. And out of that bottom rung of teams, we're going to talk about the relegation battle later. But they're the form team out of the ones in there. So credit to Scott Parker if he does keep them up. So it's a great job from him. On to Tottenham Palace. Spurs 4, Crystal Palace 1. Will, Bale back?
I knew this was coming. I saw the tweet last night and I thought, okay, here we go. He's remembered. Look, fair enough. But here we go again.
Are you doubling down?
The 2 goals, a tap in, and then almost a tap in from what? 2 yards away, header. I'm not again. I said let's give it a few weeks. Let's see. I know he's got what 6 and 6.
6 and 6 yesterday for Bale
6
now.
and 6 now. Look, I mean, don't get me wrong. He's now starting to reap the rewards that people expected of him. But this is what people expected of him. This wasn't. Everybody had this idea of Bale when he was coming back of how good a player he was going to be. Now he's starting to show signs of it. So, at the end of the day, you're doing your job. Nobody expected him to be a bit part player. So I think it will be interesting. Look, let's see what the next few weeks bring. Again, this is against a Palace side which have not looked at all strong this season.
That's true.
So look, as well as he's performing at the moment, yep, fair play. But all I'm saying is, let's give it a run of games and see if it can. And I will hold my hands up in sort of 3 games time. If
Put
he's
a date
still
on him.
bagging goals.
What episode are you going to give it till we come back to this discussion?
Well, we've got an international break coming up, don't we, Jack?
I think so. Yeah, I think that's towards the end of the month when the 20th,
I think
around that couple of weeks.
Well, okay, let's give it 2 more games.
Okay.
Let's give it 2 more games. So we'll go to episode 10.
Okay.
We'll go to episode 10. I'll put my hands up, and if he's still performing, then I will say sorry, bail back. I'll drop the hashtag, and it will be done like that.
Well, Bale wasn't the only one that performed last night. Obviously, with royal interviews going around, I think Kane might not be the most publicised Harry this week. He definitely does deserve a shout here.
Have you just thought of that line on the spot, or is that already scripted? Because that just came across. That was very good, very smooth.
Thank you. But 16 goals, 13 assists for Kane this season. It's honestly player of the season form. Those kind of numbers he's putting up, he's got to be in the conversation. But I think where Tottenham finishes kind of dictates how he stands going into that. But is he the most all-round great player in the Premier League in terms of can do everything?
I think it'd be difficult to argue against it. Obviously, there's other players with incredible quality. You know, someone like Kevin De Bruyne springs to mind. But I think the thing with Kane is, as a striker, he has that ability. Like, he almost has that sort of Wayne Rooney-esque ability, I always thought. When, you know how Rooney would always, towards the end of his career, he would sort of drop back and he'd be pinging passes left, right and centre. Kane's able to do that now, but he's also got that striker's instinct. He is an incredible player, Jack. I mean, that goal yesterday that he scored, just outrageous, special. Outside of the box, not even a touch, sweeps it into the far corner. Absolutely beautiful goal. But sometimes you look at that, so am I surprised he's done that? No, I'm not. And I mean, this is the big thing now. Harry Kane is a great player, and everyone knows it. There were all those questions years ago when he sort of first burst onto the scene, and people were going, is he going to be a sort of one-season wonder? He's proved he's not. He's proved it at international competitions with England. He's proved he is a great striker. This is the key point now, Jack, regardless of Spurs. If you're Harry Kane, do you stay at Spurs with this intent to try and win them a trophy? Or if a big team, say Manchester United, need a striker and they're pushing for the league and they probably are in a better position squad-wise than Spurs, does he move? Do you go for the personal accolades or do you go for the trophies?
Normally, I think they would always go for the trophies. Kane, something about him, I can't see him moving unless it's like a guaranteed trophy, like a City or even like a Barcelona or something. I don't know if United are a big enough pull anymore for Kane to throw his Tottenham legacy to one side to chase a trophy. Are United a guaranteed trophy club anymore?
Well, no, that's a very good point. I think personally, I think the big point about him moving is if he was to move, he would be maybe 120, 130 million, with his age considered as well. At least. Are you getting that money's worth if you sign, say, Haaland, for example, a younger player, has got, more years in the tank? Would you rather spend it on that, or would you rather spend it on sort of Harry Kane, who right now is in the peak of his career? And this is the thing. I think it's interesting. I think personally, Harry Kane will stay in the Premier League because he can definitely go for Alan Shearer's Premier League goal scoring record. 100%, he can challenge for that. I just think there could be a move on the cards. I really do. I don't see why he would want to just stay and almost waste those years at Spurs. Because that's what it will become. If they don't win a trophy, look at the opportunities that he's had. Look at how much he's done for them anyway. They get to that Champions League final, and he must have been thinking after that, even though they didn't win, he must have been thinking, right, this is the start here. I'm going to really start pushing for trophies. We've shown the intent we can do it. And again, just not getting through that final hurdle. And, obviously they've still got the League Cup final to come. But even so, if they don't win that, I think he's got to look at a move. I think he's way too good a player for Spurs. He deserves to win trophies.
Definitely deserves that those club honours on his CV. Also broke a record last night. Him and Son, new record for the most goal combinations in Premier League history, beating Sutton and Shearer. I believe it's 14 goals they've got this season with however many, 10, 11 games left for them as well.
Yeah.
Again, shows how fantastic they've both been together this season, and how we talk about the numbers Kane's put up, the numbers Son's put up this season, Bale's form. For Tottenham to be where they are in the table, it must feel like a kind of drop ball right now.
Yeah, I think it's the consistency of it, isn't it? I think it's the consistency of the team, and we've seen they go on a couple of they have look at earlier in the season, they went to Old Trafford and absolutely slapped United, absolutely had them, and then all of a sudden, they're losing games, which you're thinking they're not performing, they're not scoring goals, and questions being raised about Jose Mourinho. It's a really interesting one with Spurs, because you look at their side and you think they should be higher up the table. I think they're into 6th now. But personally, for me, I think they've got some great quality. I think maybe in defence lets them down.
Yeah,
at the back. Players like Serge Aurier, for example, he doesn't really fill you with confidence as a right back, does he? Matt Doherty's come in from Wolves, and he's not really been the acquisition that I think they were really looking for. I think it's definitely defence they've got to look at. And like I said, I'm not too sure on Hugo Lloris either. So, look, I think that's probably where they've got to look to improve, because at the front of the pitch, spearheaded by Kane and Son, they are dangerous. Heung-min Son is a phenomenal player as well. And I don't think he gets. I think he gets credit, but not as much as he deserves. That link up with Kane that he showed. There you go, breaking record again. Yesterday with him. They are 2 phenomenal players, and they've shown it this season. Once again, they've almost carried Spurs to 6th.
Yeah.
They could be way further down.
Yeah, 100%. Now we're going to take a little microscope lens into the relegation battle. We said
we are.
10 games left. This is something we've debated quite a bit off camera, who we think's more in danger than others.
Yeah.
That obviously changes week on week. We'll see what we think now. Current standings right now, Sheffield United, let's face it, it's not happening. 14 points for them, bottom of the table. Congratulations for not being the worst Premier League team of all time. West Brom next with 18 points. Fulham, 26 points, still in the bottom three, but as we mentioned earlier, on that good form. Brighton, 26 points. Newcastle, 27. I've lobbed in Burnley there as well, 30 points. Oh, above them, Southampton and Palace, about 33, 34 points, but would take a monumental chasm of fortunes for either of them two to go down, I'd say. Also worth mentioning that out of them, Newcastle and Brighton both have a game in hand, but the game in hand is against each other, which is so big in a couple of weeks' time. If one of them loses that could be fatal. That could be really fatal for either of their seasons. We're going to have to put our neck on the lines here, Will.
Yep.
Right now, I think we can go into it a bit, delve into it. I assume we both think that Sheffield United and West Brom are going down.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So it's a case of who we think that third relegated team will be. In my mind, as you know, I'm a big Graham Potter stan. We've mentioned this on the pod over the last few weeks.
Yeah, we have.
The results aren't going his way. I can't lie. Every single week, I think I've realised I've the amount of sympathy I have for Potter and Brighton is because I see similar things with Arsenal every week. As I see the potential in a team ruined by individual errors every single week. As we mentioned Burnley there, Burnley won, Arsenal won. Arsenal dominated the game for the first half, and Granit Xhaka booted it off Chris Wood to gift Burnley an equaliser. We couldn't get back in it from there. I see similarities, parallels between Arsenal and Brighton. So I think that sympathy is just carrying too much faith in my mind. I think Newcastle's that third team that goes down.
I mean, it's a tricky one, isn't it? I mean, start of the season, I'll be honest with you, I said Sheffield United are going down. I thought they would be farmed out this season, that sort of second season syndrome. It's been proved right. They just have not got going. And I know that people are going, oh, but Jack McConnell got injured. And what?
No,
go out and sign someone then. I'm not having that. You've been terrible all season.
They did. They signed Phil Jagielka, didn't they?
Yeah, exactly. Go down, and that's the thing. They're done now. I think West Brom, writing's on the wall for them. And I mean, you have to say, even with Sam Allardyce there have been results where they've managed to get clean sheets, but still, it's not been the turnaround they wanted. And the players that they've brought in haven't really been able to help them that much. So I think they're done as well. I agree. And then it is this final spot, isn't it? I think, you mentioned there, I think Palace and Southampton are out. I think they're safe. Okay. But I think it was huge that Southampton grabbed that result at Sheffield United. Because otherwise they are drawn right back into it.
Definitely.
And I think, I agree with you. At the start of the season, I saw that Fulham-Arsenal game and I thought, Fulham, what is this defending? This is shambolic. This is literally Sunday League. When you're letting Willian get assists for fun, there's problems on the pitch. But since then, you're right. Scott Parker and what he's been able to do and how they've managed to pick up results. And you look at it and you have to say, I think Fulham will be safe. I think they will be safe. And I know that people have spoken about the experience of Newcastle as a team and that may get them out. For me, it's between Newcastle and Brighton of who goes down. And I think it's going to be Newcastle. And the only reason I think it's going to be Newcastle is Callum Wilson, Alan Saint-Maximin, and Miguel Almiron. They're 3 key attacking players, all injured.
Yeah.
Probably not going to be back until maybe mid-April. That is a huge issue for them. And you saw it in that West Brom Newcastle game yesterday where I may as well have been asleep. That is a game that I should not have even bothered to glance my eyes at, but unfortunately I did, and wasted 90 minutes of my life. But again, they just showed that West Brom outplayed them for the majority of the game. West Brom had all the chances.
Yeah.
And I just think, Steve Bruce has come in for a lot of criticism. There's been this whole thing about the training ground bust up, the morale of the squad. Is it really there supporting him? I think it could be trouble for Newcastle. I think it's between them and Brighton, and I think you're right. Brighton, I'm nowhere near as big a Graham Potter fan as you are. I think they are. I think he's. You're looking at this. They have picked up no results, and each week you have backed him and said, "Yeah, they're just not getting the chance. They can't finish him." Well,
they're getting the chances. Don't get me wrong. They're getting the chances.
They're getting the chances. They're just not finishing them. Showed it against Leicester as well. Lana hits the post. He has another great opportunity. Spurned it wide. I think it was. They're getting opportunities. They're just not taking them. I think it's going to be between Brighton and Newcastle. I just think Newcastle, they don't have those key players available right now when it's crucial. I think this run-in that we'll see, and you've just said it there, Newcastle-Brighton, what a huge game that is. Is that at St James's Park or is it at the Amex? Do you know?
I want to say Amex, but I can't quote me on that. I'm not too sure. I don't think it makes much difference at this point.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't.
Yeah, like you say, Newcastle. The thing is, this is what's made my decision. Brighton, you can see where the goals could come from. They just have to actually score them. Newcastle, there's just nothing there to see. Oh well, if they scored that, they have no chances. They don't create anything in these games, especially with those front 3 out, their most dangerous player is Joe Willock at the minute going forward.
Yeah, imagine if they hadn't brought him in.
Yeah, you've got Mr. Joe Linton, who's £40 million, has to be up there, one of the worst Premier League signings of all time. Andy Carroll sat there on the bench he came on for 30 seconds to waste time to get the 0-0 against West Brom. Dwight Gale, sure, he'll get you out of trouble a couple times, but he's not that goal scorer. He's not a Callum Wilson. Callum Wilson's carried them to where they are this season, right now.
Yeah. And this is the thing, right? I know there's this whole debate about Newcastle as a club, and fans believe they're a big team and that they should be challenging for Europe. I don't think they should be in a relegation battle. I don't think they should be anywhere near it with the size of the club they are. But I have to disagree. You are not a European challenging club. I don't think they are. I think they expect so much more of what have they shown in recent years? The best that they've really done in recent years was under Pardew, wasn't it?
Yeah. It
was under Pardew, and then they give him a
8-year contract.
8-year contract. That's just come up.
Sacked him the next season.
And this is the thing. It's like it just feels like it's always. And I know there's issues with the ownership of the club.
Yeah.
But at the same time, do you not look at it, Jack, and think, Mike Ashley, for the amount of stick that he gets, did he not blow 40 million on Joe Linton?
He
Whoever
did.
wanted Joe Linton, I don't know who wanted him.
It was Brucey.
He buys Callum Wilson, you know. He brings in Ryan Fraser. They made all right signings this summer.
Yeah.
They brought in Jamal Lewis from Norwich. They obviously brought in St Maximin. I feel like they've got decent enough players. Probably need to improve in some areas. They shouldn't be fighting relegation, but is that a squad that should be challenging for Europe? No.
No, but it's the size of the club, isn't it? The stadium, the area, the everything. It's the embodiment of Newcastle that's what makes the recent season so disappointing.
But Sunderland have a big enough stadium, and they're in League One. I'm not so sure. I just don't think they're. It's like when West Ham fans have always made out they're a big club, and I'm thinking, are you? Who's told you that? Because I think you got the wrong memo. I mean, like, you're in the Olympic Stadium, and that's about it. I mean, now they're proving me wrong. David Moyes has really had me on toast now with their form this season. But no, I'm just not really buying it. I don't think Newcastle have really proved that they deserve to be, a club that right now should be challenging for Europe. Who said they should be anywhere close to that?
Yeah, well, can't wait for that Brighton Newcastle game and for the talk after it. I'm sure the picture will be a lot clearer.
Well, yeah, I mean, we can either slate Newcastle or you're able to, really big up Potter. So.
This week's show is sandwiched between two big derbies. Manchester derby happened yesterday, 2-0, and then Sunday coming up, it's the North London derby. Had us thinking, here we go again. Top five's back for the second week in a row. Top 5 UK derbies in football.
Yeah.
There's a lot to pick from here. I can't lie. We've both gone away. We've picked our lists. We're not worried about sameness this time. There's not enough. There's not enough to split them up. Will, you did such a good job going first last time. Would you like to do it again?
Yeah, why not? I mean, I think it's important to say that these derbies that I picked, these are the ones that sort of are my sort of favourite, that I would look out for. That I would, if I see that it's on the TV, I want to watch these.
Okay.
That's why I've gone with them. Obviously, there's so many that you can choose from. These are my list. So, I'll start with number 5. And I'm going back to Newcastle. It's the Tyne Weir derby. And the reason why I like this one and thinking back to sort of previous memories of it, I feel like there is that real sort of passion between the fans when I watch it. It's one of those that does lure me in. And, for me, it reminds me of, Kevin Nolan doing the chicken dance when they want, he's bringing the chicken out, the 5-1 win. And then, I think it was 2013, Paolo Di Canio's second game. And, he's on the knees. They won it, Sunderland winning 3-0 at St James's Park. And I remember there was another game as well. Jermaine Defoe scored an absolute screamer.
Yeah.
So they're games which, sometimes but like all derbies, they can be tense. But those moments as well, you can feel like the real passion in the stadium, the real support. And that's why, documentaries such as like Sunderland Till I Die are so great. But no, that's not my number 5. I'm going Tyne Weir. Okay. My number 4, I'm going for the Merseyside derby.
Oh, okay.
I'm going Merseyside derby, and it might be surprising why it's in number 4, not a bit higher. Look, it's had good moments, but I feel like it's always one of those which, it has great moments. You think back to, Luis Suarez absolutely mugging David Moyes off for fun, doing the dive in front of him. Feisty challenges as well. But I feel like in recent years, especially, I obviously know that, only a couple of weeks ago, Everton finally beat them. Since 99, I think it was at Old Trafford, Anfield, the last time they did it. For me, it's always one of those which sort of just over the last few years lacks entertainment. There's been quite a few 0-0s I remember, or just like there's not that real attacking sense. I don't know. Maybe I'm remembering it because there hasn't been any fans at the last couple or so. But for me, it lacks that. It's still a great derby. Don't get me wrong, but I just feel like it used to be great. And now it's sort of stuttered over the last few years as Liverpool have improved and sort of Everton have decreased. So that's my number 4, the Merseyside. Number 3, the Manchester derby.
Okay.
So the Manchester derby, I think it's had great moments over the years. Iconic moments. You remember that sort of the 6-1.
Yeah.
Mario Balotelli pulling the shirt over. Why always me? You had the Rooney overhead kick. there's always that feisty nature with the Manchester derby, which I've liked. And I love those derbies where you are thinking, is someone going to get sent off today? Is there going to be a bit of bite? You know, I love those, and that's why I think the Manchester derby has a bit of that. But like I said, again, in recent years, obviously, no, it was 2-0 yesterday, but I don't know, at times it has been quite dull. But I mean, there was one a couple of years ago, I remember, with didn't United, weren't they like 2-0 down?
2 down, yeah.
Pogba then,
yeah.
And Paul Pogba comes back. You know, moments like that, really entertaining games at times. So I'm going to go Manchester derby at my number 3.
Cool.
My number 2, the North London derby, Arsenal Spurs. And I like this one because, you know, it always makes, you know, my brother's a Spurs fan. It always reminds me of sitting in the kitchen because Mum had banned us from watching it in the lounge. And watching it on a tiny TV in the kitchen and seeing Danny Rose absolutely swaz one on his debut. Oh, it was incredible.
It's Danny Rose on his Premier League debut.
Haunted,
haunted in the back of my mind.
I can imagine you are. It was a great moment, but I feel like there, you know, there's been, you know, I feel like there's always some goals in a North London derby. Maybe the stats would prove me wrong, but I always find it entertaining. I mean, like, you know, last season didn't Alderweireld, was it an equaliser or was it a late winner?
Well, do you mind picking one of our moments?
I mean, look, okay. Well, how about the moment when Cesc Fabregas scores one? Sky's coverage aren't even quick enough to see him score a second.
He's in again. It's Fabregas.
They're already watching the replays of the first. Cesc is in again for a second.
What a moment.
Yeah. So I mean, that's the thing. I always feel like great atmospheres with North London derbies, and you know, especially you look back to the times when it was sort of. Wenger, you had the long list of Spurs managers going through. But I feel like you always really had those entertaining games for the North London derby. So, yeah, I'm going North London number 2. And then the iconic number 1. I'm going for Aston Villa versus Birmingham City.
Wow.
As my number 1. And I'll explain why. I've actually been to this derby. I have to say... I sound like... Have you ever seen that little meme of that kid where he's like, the atmosphere was electric.
It was electric. The
atmosphere was completely electric. I've never seen anything in my life. I felt like that kid at that game because I think it was around 2017. It was at Villa Park. Villa won 1-0. Gabby Agbonlahor, a cult legend for Villa, scoring it against Blues. And in recent years, these are games which, they haven't been so common in recent years with sort of them juggling between, Villa juggling between the Premier League, Championship, Blues as well. And, obviously we saw in recent, was it last year, a couple of years ago with the Jack Grealish, being hit on the pitch, crazy moments like that. There was a real hatred between Villa and Blues fans. And I remember that whole game, it was incredible atmosphere. And I remember Gabby Agbonlahor scored and we're in the whole end behind it. And... random geezers are just absolutely hauling me into their arms. I mean, thrown around like a rag doll. My friend Freddie, he falls back into a child, and the child starts crying. And I remember the dad goes to the child, why are you crying? He's like, he fell into me celebrating the goal, and the dad was like, well, grow up, picked him up and starts throwing him around himself, It was a great atmosphere. That derby as well, you just saw. I think it's had great moments as well in the past. That for me is my number 1, Villa Blues.
Okay, wasn't expecting it from you, but of course, family roots into Villa. I should have probably expected it. It was either that or something Chelsea, but Chelsea barely have a rivalry, so
we don't really have any. No. Fulham
down the road.
I'd rather watch paint dry. Yeah. Fulham want to have a rivalry, but that's about it. All
right, time for my top 5 then.
Let's go.
I've left out some big names. But this will be interesting compared to yours, actually. I'm less confident than I was with last week's outrageous goals list, I think.
Okay.
Because it was tough to pick. I've missed off some games that I do like. But let's see. Number 5, my number 5, matches your number 5. Number 5, Tyne-Wear Derby, Sunderland, Newcastle. The thing with the North East is, no matter how poor the teams are, and my God can they be poor, the fans are always so passionate about the clubs, and that's emphasised no clearer than when the 2 biggest teams in the area square off. Always huge atmosphere in the stadiums, the big roaring grounds. We mentioned them earlier, St James's Park, Stadium of Light. Great moments, as you said. You list up. I was going to mention the Jermaine Defoe goal. Huge moment. What a goal that was. But yeah, number 5, Sunderland Newcastle time wear. Number 4, Liverpool versus Manchester United. Hear me out.
Okay.
The gimmick of being the two most successful clubs in the country going against each other is a winner. It's an unbeatable one. It's one that's always going to carry it. It always feels like a big occasion. Why is it not higher on the list? The games are always quite bad. Quite bad games. It feels like it rarely lives up to the hype. Recently, especially, real poor games in the last few seasons. But the atmosphere is normally very good. It, like you said, for the Manchester derby, always a bit of bite there between the two teams, I think.
Yeah.
And the reason I've put this in above the other two is both Liverpool fans, players, past, present, same with Man United, care much more about this than they do the Manc derby and the Merseyside derby. They've said it themselves. It's been said multiple times by all of them. Therefore, I think it's only fair to put this at a higher pedestal than them two, even if the other two put on more entertaining games from time to time. Number 3 is where I've put the second City derby, Aston Villa, Birmingham. Okay. One of the purest inner city derbies in the country. You mentioned the incident a couple of years ago, the idiot Birmingham fan running on, clobbering Jack Grealish in the back of the head. He goes on to score the winner. Crowd goes ballistic. Fantastic moment. It's a shame they're not playing each other much recently. If Birmingham go down this year, could be a long time before they next play each other.
You're having to wait for cup draws, aren't you? Yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I mean, for some reason, the moment I remember most is the iconic Olof Mellberg does the throw in and it goes under Peter Enkelman's foot, and you just see him just stare up to the sky as a Birmingham fan races above him, races around him and claps him. What a moment. Great derby, always a big occasion. Number 2, can't believe it's not made your one. Old Firm, Celtic Rangers.
Yeah.
Okay, Will, you know I berate Scottish football as much as the next man. And the next man being you. But whether it's Ibrox, Celtic Park, the place is unglued when the Old Firm comes around. Hampered by the fact they play each other about every other week. But seeing the back and forth of reaction online as Rangers won the league this past weekend, it just shows what it means to get one over on each other. The 10 years of hurt for Rangers to build themselves up from the new build up to title winners again. The love for those two clubs in there. Scottish fans do it right in terms of treating these days as they deserve to be. But it's Scottish football, it can't win it for me. Number 1, stay loyal. It's the North London derby. I mean, come on.
Okay.
Come on. Rivalry born from Arsenal seeing that there were no big clubs in North London, finding the gap in the market, moving from Woolwich over to Highbury, and then realising Tottenham were down the road. Iconic moments that you've mentioned. And as you said, I'm not sure if it's just like a feeling, but I feel like they're high-scoring games. There's high-scoring games all over this fixture. 5-4 back in 04-05. We beat them 5-2 twice in 2 years. 3-2 Spurs coming from 2-0 down at the Emirates. 4-2 recently at the Emirates under Unai Emery. It's just, there's goals all over this game. Great moments as well. I won't leave out any Tottenham moments. You mentioned the Danny Rose goal is iconic in its own right. Harry Kane, where he's got the mask on and he scores the great goal and he's ripping the mask off to celebrate.
Yeah.
Henry knee sliding to the Tottenham fans. What an iconic picture that is. It's it's a fun derby. It's such a fun derby to be a part of day in and day out compared to the others. It's the number 1. It's the most entertaining for me. Therefore, takes the top position for mine.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a very strong list. I agree. The Old Firm for me, look, it came into my thinking, but at the same time I was thinking, these are games that, am I interested in watching it on the TV?
That's fair.
It's very rare I actually think to myself, it's Celtic Rangers, I'll throw that on the box. It just doesn't... I know it's a huge game, and you see the sort of, that passion between the fans, but it just doesn't give me that buzz to go, I'm going to watch it for 90 minutes. And like you say, they play each other every 2 weeks.
Let me throw a different question. If someone offered you a ticket to go to Celtic Rangers,
well, am I having to pay?
I mean, It's probably cheaper.
I've just put it back on you there. I've just put it back. Is it a free ticket?
It's probably cheaper.
If it was
than all the
free,
other
I'd
games.
go. If it was free, depending on the price. If somebody went, "Oh, do you want to go to Celtic Rangers for £100?" I'd go, "No."
I would 100%
right.
want to see. I would love to see the old firm in the flesh.
I'd love to see the atmosphere of it. Yeah, but
Yeah.
I think it just depends on how much I'd really want to pay.
I think
to
atmosphere is
watch
a
it.
huge part of it. I think it's a huge part of it.
Oh, 100%.
One's honourable mentions for me. I kind of wanted to fit in the Steel City derby, the Sheffield United Sheffield Wednesday.
Yes.
I was always quite interested in that when that one came about. I didn't have enough to go off though. In terms of the 4-2 at Hillsborough was a fantastic game, but other than that, not enough to pick.
I was thinking about Forest Derby,
Yeah.
and I thought, am I really going to put this in? No, because every time I was in Notts and that game happened, it was dull as dishwater. Apparently, Norwich Ipswich is a great atmosphere.
Really?
Apparently in East Lanc, yeah, the
I know there's a hot rivalry there. I didn't realise there was atmosphere about
apparently
it.
That's not too bad. Apparently there's a big atmosphere for those. Yeah, the Tractor Boys.
Well, hopefully I can get those up in the future. We'll see who's list. Fairs.
I think I'm going to get some hate for not having the old firm in.
Maybe. I mean, I've kind of pandered to the loyalists with mine.
Damn, I should have put Swansea Cardiff in to support the Welsh. Damn.
Get them back on the side. Well, if we look bad then, it's time for predictions. We have to face up to it. I tweeted it out last night on the pick that one out Twitter.
Yeah.
For the first time in 8 weeks, 0-0 in the predictions. Awful.
Okay.
It's reprehensible stuff from the both of us.
Yeah.
14-14 remains the score on the door for the season.
It's tight though. It keeps it interesting.
Yeah. So.
Like West Brom Newcastle, no chances.
Yeah,
we still in that scrap.
We don't want to make it too easy for ourselves. If we just put a West Brom Newcastle every week, we just get 3 points on the daily. Now the reason that we won't have Barcelona, PSG, or Leipzig, Liverpool predictions this week, we've already done them. I want to venture out into new games. I think that's fair enough, isn't it? So. We are really delving into uncharted territories here. The first one's in the Europa League, last 16 on Thursday. Manchester United, AC Milan.
Yeah.
The size of the clubs is big. Europa League, it doesn't feel like the right stage for it, but we might see a good game. Will, what are you thinking?
I think it's a first leg.
Yeah.
So I think it could be quite cagey. And, I think AC Milan will be looking for that away goal. I think it's going to be tight. I'm going to go 1-0 United. I'm going to go with the stat padder, Bruno Fernandes, because he always seems to come through with a goal somehow, or one way or another, a free kick, a penalty. So I'm going to go with Bruno Fernandes. I'm going to go 1-0 United. I think they'll take a lead to Italy for the second.
I agree. I think AC Milan, not in the form they were at the start of the season. Like what they're doing there under Inzaghi, building a young team around Ibrahimovic. Quite a nice move. I don't think Ibrahimovic is fit though for it. I think he's not making it. I'm not 100% on that, but I feel like I've read that at some point. It shows the research that goes into these predictions.
Oh, it's
I'm going to go 2-0 United.
Okay.
Thinking about who might play for United in the Europa League. I'm going to go Marcus. I'm going to go Marcus Rashford goal.
Okay.
As my goal scorer.
Yep.
Up to the Premier League then. Saturday, Chelsea Leeds. The perennial entertainers versus Chelsea. I'm not sure if it's at the Bridge or Ellen
slander.
Road. No, the last one was 3-1 Chelsea. Dominated the chances in that one after conceding early. Oh, I'm going to go for... Because it's weird, because you're not seeing many high-scoring Tuchel Chelsea games. But it's Leeds. I'm going to go 2-1 Chelsea here. I think Leeds can nick something here.
Okay.
Sticking with my newly found boy, Mason Mount. He's on cracking form recently. It's tough to bet against him.
Macenio Mount, yeah.
Big money.
Yeah, I mean, this is an interesting one. A 12:30 kickoff. Obviously, the last time we played them, we actually took ourselves to the top of the league, and then look what's changed since then. I mean, for me, you're right. I think there is going to be some goals in it. again, Tuchel, they're not high-scoring games, but I just feel like Leeds give you an expansive way to play and give you opportunities. I'm going to back the boys. I'm going to go 3-1 Chelsea. And I'm going to go for the lead scorer. Once again, I have no clue who can score for Chelsea at the moment other than Mason Mount. I'm going to go lead scorer. I'm going to go Pat Bamford.
Yeah, safe pick for if
he scored against. He took the lead against us. When we last played. I'm going to go Pat to score. So
I was tempted
3-1 Chelsea.
I was tempted with Rafinha, to be honest. Cracking form from him. He's looks fantastic signing in recent weeks. But Pat Bamford, a good enough pick for a Leeds goal scorer if you're ever going to get one. Finally, we've bigged it up in the last segment. North London derby on Sunday at the Emirates. Arsenal, Tottenham. Will give me the news.
I'm going to go 3-1 Spurs. I'm going to go 3-1 Spurs. And the reason why is I look at two players. I look at Harry Kane and I look at Son.
Not Bale?
And I just think they are too good. I just think they're too good with their link-up. They create opportunities. They take opportunities as well. They're clinical. And so I'm going to go Harry Kane to score. I'm going to go 3-1. I just think they're too strong for you, Jack. I'm sorry.
We've come into this one at a bad time. Tottenham have hit their form into the North London derby yet again. We couldn't have faced them after their 6 losses in a row. No, we have to do it after they're slapping teams left and right. All the front lines in form. We are gifting goals away. Mourinho versus Arsenal always leads to counter-attacking wins for him. Writing's on the wall, I can't lie. I'd love to give us a win here, but I just can't see it.
What are you going for?
Can I back us enough for a draw even? I don't know if I can. Don't know if I can with the form that front three's on and the form that our defence is on.
I can just tell the pain that
I'm going
decision.
I'm going 2-1 Tottenham.
Okay.
Who did you say, Kane?
I said Kane.
I'll go Bale to just double down. Double down on you if he does
score now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a man that knows the narrative, and the narrative's there. Yeah, I mean, win-win really. Either take the prediction points or take the actual points. So
exactly, yeah.
You've got to be tactical in these games. We come to an end then. Before we close out, I'd like to remind everyone to check out the rest of our platforms. Obviously, we've made it onto YouTube for all these past 8 weeks. I want to crank them views up, get the subscribers up. We keep telling you to share it out. Just get it out there. What are you doing? Why are you still sat here when you could be out there telling them about the Pick That One Out podcast? Keep listening on Spotify and Apple Podcasts if that's your preferred method for podcasting. Twitter at PTTOpod if you want to see us mug each other off on the regs based on poor takes from the week before. Get on there. Also on TikTok at Pick That One Out, where all the best moments, top 5s will eventually be on. Okay, Breakfast Club then, the grilled crumpets and Marmite. Yeah, it sounds good from what you were giving off before. Is it a table topper though, considering the high scores in recent weeks?
Yeah, obviously Panarayson is the one to beat. These Marmite crumpets, it doesn't really get much better for me. I'm going to go 9.5.
Wow.
9.5. The only reason I'm letting it down is, obviously when you've got a hot crumpet, you can always make the plate just a bit damp. So, you don't want that at the end of the day. So, at the end of the day, it's a table topper, Jack. It's a 9.5. Great showing from the Marmite crumpets. I'm ready for work. I can tell you that right now.
Man with a palate. Crumpet, Marmite, 9.5.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Say no
more.
It's
a dream.
Talk sport. Is there any point anymore? The Breakfast Club's just become breakfast.
Will just eats breakfast and says what he likes.
This is what I predicted would happen 7 long weeks ago. And it's exactly where we've ended up. I can't wait to see episode 80 and to see where you're at then.
It's just going to be me drinking some water and just say, yeah, it's an ice water for me today.
Mate, that was 2 weeks ago. You've done that. That was episode 6. We've already gone there. That's full time on episode 8. if you want to keep up with Breakfast Club, then make sure to get back every week. I can't wait to see how we can progress from here.
It's thrilling.
What Will sees in the
We
breakfast
can.
aisle
We'll find a way. We'll
at
find a way.
Tesco's every week. Thank you for joining us anyway. We will see you next time. Thank you and ta-ra.